Hello and welcome to the Bradford National Bank podcast studio in beautiful downtown Highland, Illinois. This is the Highland Dirt Podcast. I'm your host, Kurt Vonder. How's everybody doing tonight? You doing good? I'm doing fantastic. The racing season is getting closer by the day. Springtime is almost here. There are so many reasons to be positive and excited. Hey, shout out quickly to Dylan Foster for that killer new intro music you just heard. And hello out there to all of our friends watching live on social media via Facebook, YouTube, and X. If you have questions for us during the podcast, please put them in the comments and we'll do our best to get to them. We got a great show for you tonight. Joining us on the podcast will be former race board member and familiar face around the track, Tyler Kathmann, resident dirt racing expert, Jacob Blumenstein, and in just a few minutes, we'll have the driver of the 24H, the modified GOAT, the greatest of all time, Highland Speedway legend, Mike Harrison. But tonight's podcast is brought to you by Jansen Auto Group. Hundreds of vehicles are available right now at gojansen.com. With Jansen Ford of Breeze, Jansen Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram and Carmi, and Jansen Ford, Jansen Chevrolet in Germantown, they have just the vehicle you're looking for. You can search their entire inventory at gojansen.com. That's go, JANSEN.com. Jansen Auto Group is proud to support local dirt track racing and world famous Highland Speedway. So you might be asking yourself, what is the Highland Dirt Podcast? Well, the Highland Dirt Podcast features dirt racing talk, plus news, information, and interviews from some of your favorite people and personalities in and around world famous Highland Speedway. Next question, maybe you're wondering, what is Highland Speedway? Well, Highland Speedway is a quarter-mile bullring style dirt track. We're located in Highland, Illinois, about 30 minutes east of St. Louis, Missouri. We've been racing in the dirt on Saturday nights since 1962. We race super late models, modifieds, pro modifieds, and street stocks under the dirt car banner, plus micro sprints, 410 wing sprints, extreme outlaw series, 4 cylinders, vintage, and kids mods, all in a covered facility with seating for 3,000, located on the beautiful Madison County Fairgrounds. Did you get all that? Did you take notes? Well, now that you know a little bit more about the podcast and you got a brief history lesson on Highland Speedway, let me introduce my two co-hosts for episode 3 of the Highland Dirt Podcast. The first is a former Highland Speedway race board member. He owns the local axe throwing place, the Game Yard in Highland, and he works at our amazing local sign vehicle wrap company, Aggressive. It's Tyler Kathmann. What's up, Tyler?
What's up, Kurt? How are you?
I'm doing great. Coming live from the Game Yard, it looks like.
You got it.
That's right.
Getting my racing vibe on. I'm sitting in the sim, getting ready to turn some laps.
That's awesome. Well, I know you got a lot going on there. We're going to give you a chance to talk about the Game Yard here soon.
Cool.
But before we bring on our guest for tonight, let's get our other co-host on here. He's a dirt racing fanatic. As I said before, he has more streaming subscriptions than he has pets. Folks, this is absolutely true. He dipped his toe into the racing division and the Warrior division, and he pretty much knows every driver that's ever stepped foot in a late model. It's Jacob Blumenstein. What's up, Jacob?
What's going on, fellas?
How are you?
What's up, Tyler?
Appreciate you joining us tonight. First of all, Jacob, what are you watching tonight? Late models at Volusia?
Yep. I got that. They actually have the USAC sprints on right now. I think that's going to be a pretty good show. Zach Dom's actually down there racing tonight.
So Pocahontas or Greenville's Zach Dom racing the USACs, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tyler, what would the USACs? What would it be like to get the USACs at Highland Speedway?
It'd be awesome. I'd love to see it. I mean, we got a little taste of the midget world with Extremes last season, and that gets your blood pumping. I mean, that was awesome. Seeing them just throw the car in. So, I mean, the USACs it'd be the same. It'd be awesome.
It'd be insane for sure. Well, Jacob, I know we missed. It looks like since the last time we talked, we had 3 nights at East Bay. Looks like we had Jimmy Owens, Jonathan Davenport, And then on Saturday night, I think the news for the weekend was Dalton Wilson, what they calling him, Big Perm, is that right? Winning his very first Lucas Oil race. What'd you think about that?
The only feature I really got to watch was the Saturday night show, and that was a good show. Wilson definitely had to earn it, and then I think he was sweating it out. I think there was 3 laps to go with a late caution, and he was able to fend off Bishop and Tyler.
Yeah, definitely. And big car counts, 74, 72, and 65 late models. Tyler, the kind of numbers we dream about at Highland or we have nightmares about.
Right. Exactly. Vice versa. It can go either way.
So yeah, Dalton Wilson with his first win at Lucas Oil. What'd they say? How many seconds had he had, Jacob, before he got his first win?
He had 9 runner-ups before he got the first win in the last basically the last 2 years. I know it's the start of his 3rd year on the Lucas Oil race, but yeah, the last 2 years he's had 9 runner-ups in Lucas Oil.
That's awful.
So great to see. Yeah. What's he, number 18? Is that right? Number 18, Jacob?
Yeah, 18D, I think the official number is.
And then, another thing I saw B-Shep. Shout out to B-Shep if you're catching this video at some point out there. I know he catches some stuff on the Highland Speedway page. Looks like he's selling his late model from the Dome, and he also ran it at East Bay. Did it seem like he was struggling a little bit with that car, Jacob?
I wouldn't say struggle, maybe for his standards, because I mean, some of these guys, if they're not running top 5, they're struggling. But I know he had a few runner-ups, and like he said, he can't figure it out in qualifying. But I think throughout the week at East Bay, he passed the most cars. So I know he still had a couple podiums, a couple top 5s, but I know the one night he started 23rd and finished in the top 5. So
yeah, you can't argue necessarily with
struggling, but
struggling for a guy like B-Shep, who's a 3 or 4 time World of Outlaws champion. But yeah, sounds like he's selling that car. So that car is for sale. I did notice it was for sale on Facebook, it looked like. And then maybe who's the next? It looks like Garrett Alberson, as a rookie, might be the next guy, maybe to win one as a rookie on Lucas Oil. Have you been watching him, Tyler?
Yeah, he's good. I mean, he's been the last few years. I've kind of been watching a lot from like Vonder or the Wild West Shootout, and he's been doing really well there. That's kind of more of his style track anyway. But I think last year, Jacob, correct me if I'm wrong. Last year was his first year as a rookie on Lucas Oil. Is that right?
Yeah, that was his first year.
I mean, he definitely got a lot of practice or a lot of, I guess, experience last year, and he's really, I think, in my eyes, done really well. I think he's going to do really well this year again and continue to start checking off some boxes on some of those big wins that he probably deserves.
Yeah, 2 top 5s over the weekend, Thursday and Friday night both, at East Bay. So, and the modifieds at Volusia, I know they've been, racing every night at Volusia. We saw both of our local Kennys, both Kenny Wallace and Kenny Schrader, picked up Gators at even with Schrader, looked like winning too. And Jacob, what are these guys doing to keep winning races, you think, at like 68 and 60 years old, respectively?
I think it just comes down to that they love what they do. They just absolutely love it. Racers race, and I think that's what it's coming down to. They're still competitive, that they just still love doing it, and that's what keeps them doing it. So they're going to do it until they can.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps running really good equipment. That doesn't hurt either.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt things.
But and keeping at it, staying repetitive, staying in the saddle. I think there's something to be said for that,
For sure.
When you keep at it all the time. Well, Volusia, they're moving now to Volusia. So it looked like the first night, last night rained out. Looks like I think they got some maybe heat races in, but it looked like the feature rained out for the late models. Did they get through qualifying, Jacob?
Yeah, I think they got through Are you talking for tonight or last night?
Last night.
Yeah, I think they got through heat races, and the feature lineup set. I think the features were the only thing they weren't able to get in.
And then, so World of Outlaws going to be opening up their season on Friday and Saturday night. Tyler, you think with Lucas Oil off for the weekend, we're going to see probably all the Lucas Oil guys, all the World of Outlaws guys?
I would assume. I mean, it's going to be probably primed up for a pretty good race weekend for sure. You're going to see a lot of big hitters and hopefully some good racing.
And Bobby Pierce is back from New Zealand. I mean, he was mad fast last night during qualifying and heat races at Volusia. So I think it's going to be interesting. Him and RTJ Davenport, all those guys running together.
Yep.
I know we'll probably see that a lot. Hopefully we see that at Highland Speedway for our World of Outlaws race. We're sandwiched right in between two big Lucas Oil races on a Wednesday. That we're on a Wednesday night. Lucas Oil are on both the weekends on either side of us, Florence and Batesville. So hoping to get a lot of Lucas Oil guys. Lucas Oil guys, come to Highland for the World of Outlaws shows. Come on, nothing to be scared of at Highland. Well, I also noticed that it was the last two Speed Weeks races kind of for February at East Bay and Tampa that track's closing. They got one more big late model weekend, I think, in October, but this was kind of their last big show, especially for Speed Weeks when everybody's been going down there. I've kind of been looking up some of the leading causes, what's been causing these tracks to close, because we're definitely right, Tyler, we're seeing more close than open up, right?
Unfortunately, yeah, you're correct. Hate to see it.
And I saw, as some of the major reasons, and Jacob chime in, but one, it's companies who want to develop the valuable real estate, kind of towns, and like Highland, towns have kind of been built around the tracks, right, Jacob?
Oh yeah, I actually talked to a guy this week that he moved to Highland. I think in '89, he said he built his house, and he used to watch on the hill. But since the racetrack was in his backyard, he thought his taxes should be less. So he said he fought it for years, and after 5 years, for the whole year, they lowered his taxes like $67.
Wow.
Which he's like, okay, they lowered it, but the amount of time he spent fighting it, the days he took off to go to court, like he said he was so mad he basically just laughed because that's the only thing he could do.
Oh my gosh.
Well, we're fortunate at Highland that we're on the Madison County Fairgrounds. The Madison County Fair has been held there for 150 plus years. We're not going anywhere. So we're fortunate as far as that goes. But some other reasons, why we're seeing these tracks close, operators maybe who reach retirement age and they don't have a succession plan. There's not a son, a family member that maybe wants to take over. I mean, racing, if you're doing that for a living, running a track, trying to make a living, it's hard, right, Tyler?
Yeah. A lot of moving parts, a lot of pieces involved with that. Like I said, Kurt, there's a lot that it takes to put forth and just put on a race or put on a full even season. So hats off to all the other groups that are operating a racetrack and promoting, because it's a lot of work.
Yeah, and weather. What about weather, Jacob? I mean, it's like something every week we're staring at the forecast, right, Jacob?
No, absolutely. It's comes Wednesday, that's where I really start paying attention to it, whether I'm racing or not. Because if I'm not racing, I still plan on going to the races. But yeah, I mean, it's you got to put all your faith in the weatherman, and the weatherman's wrong more than they are right. Then it's usually a game time decision. You got your drivers, fans, 2:00 on Facebook saying, "Hey, let's call." Well, you get, Tyler, you're looking at the same info I am. Yep. And I know if I had to call it and it's, you cancel, you're in the wrong. If you race and they get rained out, you're in the wrong. So, I mean, it's a lose-lose, but there's nights it pays off and there's nights it doesn't.
Well, and what's tough from running a racetrack standpoint is that if you run a race and the weather is iffy, the crowd is going to be crap. So if it's sort of raining and you push and you get the show in, the crowd's going to be light because the weather's tough. Well, a couple of other reasons that I saw just why some of these tracks are closing. Obviously, it's tough. Operators can't turn a profit. That's another one. Again, it's tough to run a racetrack for a living. Another reason, publicly owned tracks that can't get organized or that kind of fall out with a promoter or fall out with promoter after promoter. We see that happen a lot out there. And then speaking of, Tyler, have you heard anything about what's going on with Belclair?
Yes. So it sounds like 2026 is their hopeful opening date, or season, I should say. A lot of work needs to be done. They're talking about moving the track to another location on the fairgrounds. So obviously, inevitably, some things will be a little different than what we know or what a lot of people remember as the old school Belclair. But very, very happy to see that will hopefully theoretically come back from what we've been told. And I'm excited to see what they're going to be able to produce, what the new Belclair is going to look like, and what kind of new memories we can make there, because it was always an awesome track. It always put on great events, so I'm really excited to see what can come of it.
Jacob, did you spend much time watching races there?
I mainly went for the big shows. Couple Friday nights I went just trying to get off work, get to the races was kind of tough. But
On a Friday,
I think I went to the second year. Yeah, when they ran when the Outlaws came there, they ran the Photo Billy 50, and that was an awesome show. Then every year for the Summer Nationals, that was one of the 3 tracks I had to hit. It's awesome. I can't say it's the right thing we did, but we would buy a pit pass because you could hang out in the infield. So we would just sit in the infield all night. You'd basically, when the cars weren't on the track, you sat on the inner wall.
Yeah.
Then, it was awesome. That's something I wish more race fans got to see what it's like from the infield, because it's the scenario or like a viewpoint that's unreal. Like it's unmatched. So the tracks that you are able to do it, you should do it, but don't be in the way all night.
That's something maybe iRacing needs to take a look at Belclair before they move it. They need to map, because isn't it very unique with the wooden walls, right?
It's iconic.
A true bull ring. I mean, once you're locked inside there, you're walled in on both sides, right? Just about.
Yep.
Well, speaking of modifieds, some big modified payouts in 2024. They've got the big deal 100K win on May 30th through June 1st at Mississippi Thunder Speedway. That's in Wisconsin with the XR series. There's 20K to win Illinois Dirt Shootout at Fairbury for modifieds. Spoon River is paying $1,500 to win every Friday night for modifieds. I mean, Tyler, how are these tracks making these numbers make sense? Is it the streaming? Are big crowds showing up for modified only shows?
It's a little bit of both, Kurt. It's some of the streaming. It's sponsorships. It's banking on really good car counts and really good fan attendance. Probably more so on the sponsorship level, I would be probably assuming, just seeing from how things look on the back end. But I'm excited to see how it plays out, because I know that if they can make it work, then I'm sure that we can, at Highland Speedway, can probably start doing some similar things in the future.
Yeah, but big year for modifieds this year. Yeah, so that's great. Well, speaking of modifieds, let's go ahead and bring on our special guest for tonight's Highland Dirt podcast. So when this guy shows up at the track, I mean, usually you're racing for second, unfortunately. So he's a legend, not only at Highland Speedway, but I'd say all over the Midwest. He's the driver of the 24H modified and 24H late model. Welcome to the podcast, Mike Harrison. What's up, Mike?
What's up, guys?
How's it going, Mike?
Pretty good. Yourself?
Good.
Really appreciate you joining us. Well, first off, let's remind everyone who Mike Harrison is, okay? And Mike, don't get embarrassed here. We're going to brag on you a little bit. 624 career feature wins. 624 feature wins. Most guys would kill to get one. A lot of times. 624, that's amazing. 8-time Dirt Car National Modified Champion. 6-time Summit Modified Champ there with the Hell Tour. 2015, 2017 Prairie Dirt Classic winner. 2018 Gateway Dirt Nationals winner. More track championships in our area than you can really shake a stick at. So, Mike, out of those accomplishments, which one would you say means the most to you?
I don't know. They all have their own special moments, just in time in life in general. But I don't know. They all, like I said, they all mean something. They all, they're all special in their own ways. I tell people all the time, people ask me, favorite racetracks, favorite wins, this and that. I mean, big ones are obviously big, but winning at say Highland Speedway on a regular Saturday night, that's I mean, to me that's still special. I mean, and I don't know, maybe I'm stupid the way I think, but you never know when your last win is going to be your last win, period. I mean, you just never know. I mean, things happen in life, and you never know day to day what the next day is going to bring. So, I really enjoy still, racing local and at supporting all of our local hometown racetracks, because that's where our grassroots racing is. I mean, if we don't have that, we don't have racing. I mean, obviously we will with big shows, but you still got to have all the all of our local tracks. I love racing at our local tracks.
Well, and you're putting the butts in the seats still at the local tracks too. So you're helping out. You're putting it out there on your social media, letting everybody know where you're racing. So you're helping those tracks with attendance and getting people there. Well, back up a little bit. I like to start sometimes with origin stories. What's kind of your earliest memory of racing? Did you grow up going to the racetrack? Kind of what was your first opportunity?
I didn't really as a kid, as a young kid, I didn't, because I didn't live. I mean, I was basically born and raised in Highland, but I did live in Grand Fork, which is just right up the road here, for pretty much all my young childhood years. But when we did finally move back to Highland, yes, then I did start going to the races, just watching, as a spectator. And you was talking about the hill on the back straightaway. That's where I used to go. There was a whole group of people that would go sit back there on that back straightaway and take lawn chairs, and we'd all sit back there and old Mike Muir, he used to call it the cheap seat. So we used to sit back there, but then then I started going in the stands when that all growed up, and I'm just a big fan. I loved racing, ever since I started going. And then my uncle Kyle, he used to help Chris Bargetzi back in the day. So I kind of started going with him out to the old man's shop and just helping do whatever and just hanging out more or less. And, then I kind of went with them to the races some. I think back then we used to go to White City. That's where the old man used to like to go on the week. I think it was actually Sundays, to be honest. But so I went there a couple times. And that's really where I kind of, I mean, like I said, I was a fan before that, but that's where I kind of started, really getting into the, working on the cars and stuff. And then had some cousins that raced bombers, and that's where it really pretty much started. Kenny Landault, he was a cousin, and I helped him build a bomber. And after we got it all built, he told me, we're going to go to Mount Vernon and you're going to race it. Well, I was scared. I was scared to death to go and race somebody else's car, especially, and I don't know, I actually did really good, actually passing for the lead in the feature first night out, passing for the lead in the feature. And
Wow.
I was on the outside and coming off turn 2. I remember it. I mean, I remember it like yesterday, but I was above the guy, and Mount Vernon used to have an opening coming off of turn 2. And that guy, he pushed me right up into the wall coming off turn 2 there. And, of course, I never let out. I just, I was going for the lead. Well, right side of the car went up the wall and right into that opening. And when I came down, I right into the other side of the opening. So that pretty much ended that first night. So we put her back on the trailer and went back and had to rebuild some stuff again. But once that first night came and went, I've been hooked ever since, and it's never stopped.
You got hooked on riding that high side pretty early, huh?
I guess so. You say. I don't know. I love putting on a show, I guess.
No, that's great. Well, my co-hosts, I know Jacob and Tyler, you guys got some questions.
Yes. So, Mike, you've been racing for obviously a few decades now. What still keeps you motivated to keep going back to the shop, getting the car ready, and getting back onto the track?
I love winning. I love winning. But no, I mean, it just, I don't know, I mean, it keeps us, I know there's a lot of other things in life that people do and you can do. But that's just been my life. I mean, that's been my life for so long. That's what I know. That's what I've learned to do with my life. That's what I love to do. I mean, it's just, and I mean, everybody knows I got a motorhome, so I could go camping. I could go do whatever. I've got a boat, and obviously you guys can probably tell how many times I get a boat out a year. I mean, it sits in the shed more than it does anything else. But yeah, I don't know. I just love it. I love it, and I just can't hardly get it out of me. I mean, I've talked about slowing down. I've never really talked about quitting, but I've definitely talked about slowing down, because the older you get, not necessarily that I want to slow down or anything like that, but my body starts telling me that I have to, I guess, because I mean, them late nights and waking up the next morning and doing it all over again. I mean, them late, I mean, especially when you got a job and you got to wake up and go to a job, and that, or if you do a 3 or 4 day weekend and you've got to get up on that Monday or Tuesday and go to work after you just raced 3 or 4 nights in a row. I mean, it's getting tougher and tougher by the year, I'll tell you that. So I don't know. I talked a couple years ago about starting to slow down and stuff a little bit, and maybe spend a little more time on the boat and the campgrounds with the motorhome and grandkids and stuff. But then I've had a couple late model opportunities come aboard, and I don't know. I feel like now that I'm almost ready to race more than I have in a long time. So I don't know. We'll see how all that goes. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Hopefully I answered that question. I love it. I mean, it's my life, basically.
You love it. You're good at it. I mean, what more can you say, right?
Yeah. I just love it.
There's the boy. There's Gunner. That's the good luck charm right there, right?
Yeah, that's him. That's him.
Well, Jacob, I think you were up next.
Yeah. So, Mike, what is a race you would like to win? And it can be modified, late model. It doesn't matter.
That's a good one. Yeah, I mean,
do you think in those terms, or do you just go out night to night and just try and win every night out?
Yeah, I mean, really, it just, I mean, I've been doing it so long now that, I mean, just like I said before, I mean, every night's just, I mean, the way racing is nowadays anymore, you have to focus on every single night, whether it's a big show or a small show. I mean, you've got to focus so hard on each and every night just to win. I mean, it's really a job in itself on each and every night. Like I said, even if it's local shows, because you got competition at local racetracks, too. So I don't know. I mean, I won a couple late model races last year, and that was definitely fun. I mean, everybody knows modified wise, I've pretty much won everything in the UMP world there is to win. I don't know. I've kind of went out and tried to do the USMTS stuff a couple different times, just but it's so hard to go and try to do that. Just a one-time deal here or there, and I mean, because the cars are the same, but they're not the same at all. I mean, there's some rule packages are different, and they're the same, but they're not the same. Believe me, I've been there and tried to do it, and yeah, it's just they're not the same. But I don't know. I mean, the dome race would sure be cool to win in a late model. There's a lot of races that would probably be cool to win in the late model for sure. I don't know what races I would actually pinpoint on winning in the late model, because like I said, I when people see me pull into Highland Speedway, I'm happy when I win on a regular night at Highland Speedway. I mean, it's like I said before, I really enjoy coming back to the local tracks and in racing. I enjoy it probably the most just for supporting the local racetracks and just being there for the fans, because a lot of the fans, a lot of people venture out and go race the big time stuff, and you don't ever get to see them no more, so it's the only time you get to see them is if you go to a big show that they're at, or your local racetracks have big shows and them guys get to come back, I mean, and I respect that, but when there ain't nothing else going on, what's wrong with popping into local racetracks and supporting your local racetrack and trying to, hype the crowd up a little bit and bring some more fans in just because you show up. I mean, so I don't really know if there's any particular races that I would like to. I mean, I like to win them all that I go to. And sometimes you do win, sometimes you lose, and you gotta respect when you lost that it wasn't your day and you got beat that day. So I don't really know. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them that I would like to win, but I like winning little ones just as well as big ones.
You think winning a big late model race like a Summer Nationals or even like World of Outlaws at Highland would be pretty special to you?
For sure. Last year I got to win two of them at Granite City, which I consider Granite City a hometown track too. So I got to win two of them there. And yeah, that's definitely special. I mean, Highland would definitely be special to win. I feel like I was so close almost twice last year.
3-3-3, all thirds in the big races, right?
Yeah, I mean, if things would have played out just a little bit different in a couple of them, I feel like I could have won both of them if things would have played out, but they just didn't. It just wasn't meant to be. So you got to move on and just prepare for the next one just that much more.
You were Shannon Babb flat tire away, I think, from winning Summer Nationals at Highland, right? I mean, Shannon Babb came up with that flat, and then after that, were your tires kind of trashed after that?
I wouldn't really say the tires was trashed. The top was just slowly going away, and I think the bottom like happens so many times with these late models. You can inch them tires in just so slightly every lap, just them tires just get inched in and inched in and inched in on a long green run, and I knew the top was going away, but I was in a good rhythm at that point in time, and I had kind of drove away a little bit, but I knew the top was going away, and but that's where I had been running, and I didn't want to change anything at that point in time. So I just had to try to go back to what I was doing, and it just didn't play out. So I mean, there definitely wasn't nothing to hang heads about. It wasn't from lack of effort. It just wasn't meant to be.
Well, and from
So
starting at the 12th position, I mean, you were coming from the back a little bit, coming from the middle of the pack. Go ahead, Jacob. Sorry.
So that kind of answers my next question then, which was, what is one race that got away that you really wanted to win? Like, you look back and it's like, that was my race to win. I didn't, and it just kind of not haunts you, but you look back and it's like, yeah, I really would have liked to win that one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. Yeah, that was that would be one for sure. Yes, it would be. I mean, both of them at Highland. Actually, I don't remember. I mean, we raced so much. I do remember, this and that, but I don't remember everything about every single night anymore. I just can't remember them all no more. But yeah, but I mean, I think two of them at Highland, I was really, really close, and just, being being my hometown and the hometown track, and I think I had won the mod, or if I would have won the late model and then pulled the mod off too, I mean, that would have been really special at Highland.
Well, I got a question about the number 24, Mike. Where'd the number 24 come from? Could be an easy answer. Maybe it's a complicated one.
Yeah, no, not really. I originally started number 88. It was really between 88 and 2 when I originally started racing. And I chose 88, and I was 88 for the first couple of years that I raced. And then when I started racing for Brad Steinkenny and Ken Cady, which Brad's my brother-in-law, when I started racing for them, Brad was number 24 when he raced. So that's where the 24 come from. That was kind of Brad's number. So when I raced for them for 11 years, I think. 11 years, 11, 12 years, right around in that, in that years, I raced for them. Well, that was, that was all my beginning of my career, and through a good part of my career, 10, 11 years, like I said. And we traveled around and raced all over the Midwest, and that's what everybody knew me as, was 24. So when we all finally did put the kibosh to what we had together, I had to make that decision what I was going to do for my number. And I actually started driving for Craig Maskell then that next year, and he was actually number 2. His car was number 2, and I drove his Sportsman for him for 1 year, and I was number 2 with him. And number 2 was always one of my favorite numbers. Growing up, Dennis Sellers fan. I mean, I was a big Dennis Sellers fan. He was number 2, so that was always why I wanted to go with number 2, in the beginning. But I just thought when I started driving, when I left them and I started to drive for Craig, me and Craig talked about it, and he said, you can be whatever number you want. And I just felt at that point in my career, and as long as I've been the number 24, I just figured I needed to stay with 24, because that's what everybody knew me as, so I made it 24H, and I've been 24H ever since. And yeah, I wouldn't never change it at this point.
Yeah.
Except for the 24 IH, the 24 IH for a couple of years.
Yeah, that was, with Josh and the whole case thing. And I mean, we still have the case thing, but just the more we kind of looked at it, obviously I wanted it to be 24H because that was my number, but the 24IH, it fit perfect, right? But the more I looked at where the 24IH was on the car, and then right behind that we had the case IH, it just kind of looked, to me, it just kind of looks stupid and gaudy with having two IHs within about 4 to 5 foot of each other, so me and, Brian Steele, who Tyler works for, Aggressive, we just kind of talked about it, and the more we looked at it, it was just kind of like, maybe we need to just eliminate that and go back to the H, and because we got the IH right there behind the case. So, we talked to Josh and we talked to the case people, and they really didn't want to see it go, but they understood also. So that's kind of where we eliminated the IH and just made it H again. And yeah, so that's what we did there with that.
A little behind the scenes on how these numbers come up. I think that's interesting. Also, you drivers really care about how those cars look. I mean, down to those little details. That's pretty interesting, I think.
Yeah, I do. Don't get me wrong, but you could ask Tyler. I usually don't have a whole lot of input and a whole lot of say so in all of my graphic stuff. I leave it up to them. I mean, that's kind of like Tyler and Brian telling me how to race. I don't let them. They don't tell me how to race. So I don't tell them how to design a race car. You know what I mean?
That's very true. We don't say anything about your racing.
Yeah, I trust. I trust Brian. I've been with Brian for a long time now, and I trust what he does. I trust what they all do, and they never give me a shitty looking car. So, I mean, I may have a little bit of input at the final, just tweaking little things here or there, but I don't get involved with that. I let them do their deal, and then I just help them kind of move sponsors around a little bit here or there, or do some small little fine details. But other than that, I leave it up to them.
Yeah, Aggressive does a pretty amazing job on design, build, all that stuff.
Yeah,
Tyler.
Yeah, sure.
Tyler, I think you're up next, bud.
So, I mean, obviously, out of the years that you've been racing, you've seen different classes evolve and change, specifically in the modifieds, and now even in the late models. What's your thoughts on just how much the industry has changed? Technology, motors, aero packages, the cost of racing. What's your overall thoughts of just where this is trending and come from?
It's crazy. I don't know what more to say about it, but it's crazy.
Do you see it slowing down?
No. I mean, I wish, I so wish that we could go back in time, 10 years, 15 years, just to make it more feasible for locals. Everybody always wants to, what can we do to get more people involved? What can we do for this? What can we do for that? To get new racers, new fans. I mean, it's not just the racers. I mean, it's the fans. It's everything. It's everything in life nowadays is more expensive, and like just like what we're doing right here. Did you ever think 15, 20 years ago there'd be 4 of us on phones, doing what we're doing right now? No, absolutely not. In racing is the same way. I mean, would we ever thought that we would be doing things with the race cars now that we're doing? Absolutely not. I grew up scaling race cars with scales. And before that, before I could afford scales, let's put it that way. When I started racing, we used to go like by the finger rule. Okay, so we would use 2 fingers, 3 fingers, 4 fingers for our ride heights, on our race cars. That's how we did it. I mean, when I started racing back in the day with the Bombers, when I started racing, we would literally take stock springs out of the, I ran a 1980 Cutlass or whatever, that mid-sized Cutlass. And what we did to them for our springs, because we couldn't run racing springs and stuff like that. I mean, some people did, and painted them, but you weren't allowed to. So I mean, what we did was we took a torch, and we would take the factory springs out of the cars, and we'd take a torch to them, and we'd cut them basically to the length that we wanted them, that we thought we needed, and that's the springs we ran. So that's where you'd get the 2 and 3 and 4 fingers from for your ride heights, to try to get that as close as you could to, what you felt like was right. And then the first set of scales that I ever had was a set of bathroom scales. There was, let's see here. It's been a long time ago. So, I think that it was bathroom scales. It had something that you had to set on these bathroom scales, I think. Man, it's been so long, I don't even remember. But I do know it was bathroom scales, and then you had to multiply what the bathroom scale said by a certain number, and that was your number that you ended up with. And then obviously after that, then obviously I started driving, the modifieds, and, things started getting a little more technical, but then, there was the whole grain scales thing, we used grain scales. Then if you was high dollar, you actually had, regular scales, which are still used to this day. But not basically for what we used them for back then, scaling cars. I mean, nowadays, really the only thing you use, really a lot of the only things you use scales for nowadays anymore is just, getting your percentages right as far as like left side weight, I mean, not even really your cross much anymore, but just your left side percentages, versus your front to rear percentages, but yeah, so now, I mean, the majority of everything is just all done by spring smashers, which is a machine that you put your, your coil eliminators and your shocks and springs in, and you have certain measurements, and it's basically a little computerized machine that runs up and down and gives you the number of your ride height numbers and your 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 inch numbers, all your numbers that you want. And yeah, it's very, very technical nowadays. It's way, I'll tell you, it's way more technical and way over my head, to be honest with you. Brett, my boy Brett, he's way smarter about all that stuff than I am. I mean, not so much with the modified stuff. I mean, we've kind of both learned all of that stuff together, and but like the late model stuff, I mean, good Lord, it's crazy where that stuff is. I mean, working with Randy, with the 33 car, working with him some with all this late model stuff. I mean, it's just, a lot of times I just walk away. Say, I don't even want to know, because there's just so much, I mean, you're dealing with little bitty packers. I mean, a packer is a washer, basically. It's a polyurethane or a plastic or a metal, just a little bitty 16th, 32nd, 16th, 1/8 inch thick washer, that you're putting in on shocks and springs, and
Wow.
and that is, I'll tell you, that is make or break adjustments in the late model world these days. I mean, it's that I mean, they're that technical, that if, one guy makes the right adjustment with this or that, or, you talk about load numbers. If one guy makes a 10-pound adjustment load number on one corner of the race car versus the next guy, that's the difference between winning and losing, or winning and running third or fifth or something. I mean, the cars are that technical nowadays. It's really crazy, and you have to be so involved with all that. I mean, that's one thing that I really feel like myself, I have to get way more involved with this way too, with this year, with this late model, with all the late model stuff, just to try and get to that next step, because that's where I really feel like I was just, I wouldn't say struggling or lacking or anything like that, but just as far as, obviously I know how to drive a race car and set up a race car and make a race car go fast. But there's just communication between me and the car versus the guys in the pits. That's where I just feel like I probably lacked some last year in making the proper adjustments, just because there was times I really didn't know what was going on with the race car, and I know what I feel, and I feel like I know where changes need to be made, but then you go back to the technical side of it, and I could be thinking I need to make a change on this corner of the race car, but it's not really that corner. It's the opposite corner from that corner that actually needs to be changed a little bit to make that other corner feel better to me. So I really feel like I need to get, more involved with knowing what's way more technical, what's going on in the race car. Just so that we can kind of make that we can make better decisions on adjustments, I guess I should say, because like I said, I mean, a lot of times I felt like I needed to do this, but then we do that to the car and it makes the car worse. So then we know, hey, we should have went to this other spot versus that spot. So that's one thing I'm going to do this year a little more, is try to get more in depth with that. I did upgrade my own personal spring smasher. They have a couple different, they have just a manual one, which that's what I had before. And then they have a fully automatic one, which you can basically punch in the numbers that you want and it does it all for you. And it keeps track of all the numbers for you. To where, like the one I have, it'll do all that too, but you gotta do it all yourself. So I did upgrade to that, so we have the one we need in my own personal shop, besides what Randy's got and what's in the trailer. And we have our own late model here that we're gonna play with too a little bit. So I felt like we needed it, so we upgraded that. But yeah, it's just, the technology nowadays is just crazy on these race cars. It's crazy what's going on with them. The spring technology, the shock technology, everything is just, normal people wouldn't even understand what us guys are talking about half the time. It's just, it's crazy.
I was gonna say, is Randy the doc to Marty McFly, hooking up the 121 gigawatts in the flux capacitor? Is that Randy for you and helping speed up that curve of the adjustment to that? Is that kind of a good scenario of that he's given you?
Yeah, we all know Randy, and Randy's, he's been around forever, in racing just like I have. He's definitely the one behind everything with the 33 car. And me and Brett, we know what he's doing. We know what he's doing. Brett more so than me, and that's, like I said before, I feel like I really need to get involved with that more, because Randy don't know me like Brett Michael and Brandon and Bob and Drew, all them guys do. He's obviously learning me, but he don't know me like all them guys do, and we all kind of have our own lingo that we talk amongst ourselves, and they know watching what I need in my race cars, more than what Randy does. I mean, Randy's just basically watching what the car's doing and what I'm doing with the car, and making adjustments off of that and what I'm telling him I feel like the car needs. But like I said, I mean, these cars are all so technical nowadays. One packer in or one packer out of the right front, or one click on a shock, or 5 or 10 pounds of a load adjustment. I mean, and when you talk about load adjustments, that's talking about your rounds in your springs versus your rounds out of your springs, on your coil eliminators, on your shocks. A lot of times we ain't even talking about one whole turn. So if you'd put a mark on the side of that, and go one complete turn on that, sometimes we're not even talking about a whole turn.
Wow.
You may want to just do a half a turn, or, like I said, just one of them little bitty 16th inch washers, and that's how much things mean and change on these cars. So like I said, I mean, that's just one thing that I feel like I've got to do better on myself, knowing what these cars, what's on all four corners, and where everything's at, just because I think it's going to help me determine what corner of the race car we need to work on, versus just saying, this is what I feel, you guys do whatever. I don't know what needs to be done. That, I mean, funny thing, a lot of times we'll be talking about what changes to make, what do this, what do that, and obviously I tell all the guys what I feel and what I think, and I'll just tell them, listen, I'm gonna go around the corner and close my eyes, I'm gonna go get a hot dog, I'm gonna go sit in the stands, you make the changes you guys think that we need, and I'll drive the race car. So yeah,
sounds like a lot of science, guys.
yes, but yeah, like I said, I mean, I definitely feel like I need to myself just need to get more involved with all that. And I mean, not necessarily more involved with making changes, just more involved with knowing what's going on with the late model programs, like I do with the modified programs. I mean, with the modified stuff, I know everything about the race cars, when we go race, and I need to know the same about the late model stuff, so I think having our own late model in our shop here will make a big difference for us. Just having it here, and just knowing every nut and bolt on the race cars, I think that'll help me more so than all the adjustments, all the shocks and springs, this and that. I mean, it's all about that confidence. It'll give me more confidence, I feel, just knowing what nut and bolts are everywhere versus not knowing, because everybody knows me. I'm really anal about stuff like that, and that really bothers me, not knowing everything about my race car, because everybody knows. I mean, these modifieds, I know every nut and bolt. I know a lot of times if the wire ties ain't right on them cars, I got to cut the wire tie off and change the wire tie, because I just didn't like the way that wire tie was put on the car. So a lot of times the boys get really mad at me and tell me I'm stupid and I'm anal, but that's the way I am, and there's a reason for it.
Well, to give the viewers and who's listening a little explanation that might not know the background. So Mike last year drove mostly the 33 Lampley owned late model, right? That you're working with Randy Cordy with. And then over the off season, you bought another late model, the 24H late model that you're keeping there at your shop.
Right. Yeah. Which actually kind of happened last year, midstream of the year, but yeah, we just didn't have time to, put all the pieces together and get it out. That was really our goal. So, I mean, so about a quarter of the way through the year or so, I mean, a lot of people seen we sold that Longhorn modified that we had, that me and Josh had together. We put it up for sale to sell it because I'll go into that story real quick and just tell you, me and Josh had the modifieds together. I still had my own personal modified. We just weren't doing nothing with it because I had Josh's modified. So I still had my own personal modified that we had 3-4 years ago. It was that brand new Gen 4 deal that I had with Donnie Jumper, the impressive race car. And I brought it out and I raced it a handful of times at the end of the year. And I won a few races with it, but we obviously found stuff that we needed to change on it because it was a one-of-a-kind car. It was the brand new style, and we found some changes we need to make with it. So I ran it, and after that year, Jumper was going to build me a new one. Well, that's when the whole Josh deal came about. Well, that impressive car just kind of got put to the side, and that's where it sat. And me and Josh got the Hughes car together, and I raced it, and then bought a couple new Hughes cars the following year, and my car just still sat. So we bought them Hughes cars, ran them Hughes cars, won the national championship. And, me and Josh had talked, and Josh kind of he just kind of felt we needed to take the next step on technology wise. So Josh asked me where I thought we needed to go technology wise. And I said, well, there's a couple choices, but number one choice would probably be Longhorn. So that's where, oh boy, we just had a major crash in the late model race. Sorry, I'm not focused in on this, but I'm watching. I got late model race and sprint car race going on.
Who was it?
We just had the big one at the Daytona 500 at Volusia with the late models.
Who's in the crash? Anybody big?
I seen Mike Marler get turned sideways up in the air on his side. Bobby Pierce's tore up in the infield or down there. Hudson O'Neill. Lots of good cars. I didn't see. I was watching the sprint car when it happened, but I thought Bobby Pierce was leading, so I don't know why he's tore up here, but hopefully they'll show the replay. But anyways, so we got that Longhorn modified and fast right out of the box, but I just wasn't happy, and I'd made that comment several times. The car was super fast. But I just didn't feel it behind the wheel. I was winning races. I think at the end of the day, we figured up, here's the replay. Give me a second here. So Bobby Pierce takes off. Looks like his car just stalled. Yes, his car when he took off on the start, his car just didn't feel like it didn't look like it went. So behind that, then it just stacked them all up. So I don't know what happened there.
Somebody's saying Bobby Pierce had a flat.
Okay, so he had a flat tire. Okay, so I don't know if somebody maybe got into the back of him and flattened the tire or what, but
it's a dumb
anyway, so
bigger all over again.
So the Longhorn car, extremely fast right out of the box. But like I said, I just wasn't feeling it. So we kept trying to work with them and trying to make things better for me. And I did. I made the car better for me. And before we knew it, I had that car, stupid fast. That car was extremely fast at the end when I when I had it happy for me, for my style, for the way I wanted to drive it, it was probably one of the fastest cars I've ever had. But amongst all of that, Josh was watching me race this late model too, which we had talked about the late model stuff a couple different times. Josh had talked about it with me. Actually, when Tim Manville, which he was a local racer here around town, actually when they all decided to get out of racing for good, Josh talked to me about it, and I told Josh, I said, listen, I know all them guys run good. If you want to go late model racing, that's probably going to be the best option for us to do, because we know all them guys. I know all them guys. They would have helped us get going. I just felt like that would have been our best bet. Nick Hoffman's there. He was obviously in the crash too. Let's see here. I don't know what happened to Bobby. When he fired to take off, his car just did not take off. And it just wadded all of them. Tyler Erb, Dennis Erb. It just wadded all of them guys up back there. But anyway, so Josh watched me went back to the Tim Manville deal. Josh went and looked at it, and he called me up, and he's like, yeah, we're going to do it. I said, okay, sounds good, And so obviously him and the Manville, they were trying to work things out. He went home and thought about it. And then me and him started talking about things. And he just didn't feel that he could financially give me the proper equipment what we needed to do to go late model racing. So he pulled the plug on it and said, screw it, we ain't going to do it. Not that he couldn't buy it, not that we couldn't go late model racing, but we just, the more we talked about it, the more we thought about it, just did not feel that we was going to be able to do it the way we needed to be able to do it. So we dropped back and punted, and that's when the whole Longhorn Modified deal came about. And so that was the route we went. And then we ran the Longhorn Modified. And after I started doing the 33 car stuff, Josh was obviously watching me drive that 33 car and said, well, I wish we would have done it, because the guy can drive the late model too, So, so Josh just kept saying, man, I just wish you could go run locally a little more, just to get more seat time and get familiar with the car better, versus going out and racing all these big shows, which, racing all the big shows does nothing but make you better, because you're racing better competition. But there is also the seat time stuff and getting comfortable and getting just getting confidence and getting car control, all the ifs and ands and buts above, like we was talking about before. Just me getting familiar with everything, and so that's where he wanted to get me a late model to run more on a local level. When I wasn't out running the 33 car, to be able to run the late model instead of the mod stuff so much when I wasn't running the 33 car. So that's where the whole 24H late model deal came about. So we got the Longhorn car sold, and then that's when Josh bought me the late model. And, we had it in my shop for half the year, but we just, with the 33 car, and then getting my own personal modified back out and putting it, I got a brand new impressive car, one of the new design cars. And just with the 33 car and trying to finish that modified, my own personal modified backup, plus working on the new late model, trying to get it done. We just had our hands full, and we just kind of just ran the 33 car and focused on getting the, my mod done and that the 24H late model done to try to get them out at the end of the year. And it was just not problems, but just thing after thing after thing that just held us up on both cars till we could get both cars out, and make some laps with them. And I did get the mod out, there at the end of the year. And I won Mod Mania with it. I won the big show at Brownstown with it. Ran just a couple other races, just trying to get comfortable with it, and get ready for the Dome with it. And then, then finishing the late model up. And I mean, yes, problems. If we talked about problems, I mean, it was just thing after thing and problem after problem, getting things finished up with it to get it ready for the Dome. I mean, there at the last couple of weeks, I mean, we was about to just pull the plug on it going to the Dome too, because we was just, just cut so tight with time for it. But we got it, we ended up getting it done, and I felt like we had a really good showing with it at the Dome, being my first time in it, period. So I mean, I was extremely happy at the first night, making I think I won the heat race in the first night. And I don't even remember what we ran, 5th or whatever.
You ran eighth out of 127 late models. So I'd say a pretty good debut in the 24H late model.
yeah. I mean, so it was. I was extremely happy with that, and then finishing second in the mod. I mean, that was a great weekend.
Yep. And to back up a little bit, you threw out the name Josh a lot. So Josh Carroll, one of your big sponsors, Carroll Trucking. He also is the owner and runs now the Brownstown Bull Ring. So to just give some people that are watching and listening a little background on that. Let's skip ahead a little bit. A couple of questions, Jacob. I think you were up next. You had a question maybe about somebody maybe helping him in his career.
Yeah, if you had to, I'm not saying like a single guy, or it could be multiple, but who, helped Mike Harrison turn into Mike Harrison? Like, who's been the biggest help in your career getting you to where you're at today?
Yeah, I mean, there's been several at different stages. Obviously, it all started, like I said, with my Uncle Kyle, which was Kyle Stuckwish, which Mike Mirror always called him Uncle Easy, if anybody ever remembers the old Uncle Easy days. But that was my Uncle Kyle, and he's really the one that, when I first started with my bomber, my own, I went and bought this bomber from there again, Chris Bargatze. He had it out at his place. It was actually a car that Aaron Melton, if that rings the name, I know you guys all know him. Aaron Melton, which that was Joshua Melton's dad. It was his car that he was building, and I don't really know all the details. If he run out of money, just couldn't do it or what. But it was out at the old man's place, Chris Bargatze's, and it was just sitting there. So I ended up buying that. I didn't know a damn thing about these cars, right? I mean, all I had ever done is I helped Kenny and Kenny Landau and Gerald Landau, Mike Mosby, all them guys. I knew all them guys. So I just kind of, ran with all them guys and just helped them little bits here and there. So I was going to go racing, right? So I got this car and I started racing, and first night out with this car, Highland Speedway, I think the features were 15 laps. First night out. and I led 13 laps and ended up with a flat tire. You talk about somebody that wanted to die.
Wow.
So I flat tire, and then the next week or something, I think I might have ran second to either Hippie Dothager or Doc Calk. Them guys were the Bomber Kings back then, and so I mean I felt like I was somebody, Well, then I started to get taught my lesson, and I learned what grade I was in. Right, I was in kindergarten, and all these guys they was done graduated, and just stupid problems, not knowing what to do with the race cars and this and that, But anyways, my Uncle Kyle and my Uncle Lou and Aunt Jody Lux, they always went to the races. Well, my Uncle Kyle just sat and watched, and he watched me racing this car, and just he was like, man, this kid, because I was, I don't know, 21 or so at that point in time, 20, 21. He's like, this kid can race, but he just don't have no equipment, don't have no motor. So, this car was supposed to have a 350 Chevrolet motor in it. Well, after we ended up getting into everything, it just had a little 260 in it, just a small little 260 V8. Well, these guys had 350 engines and 400s, whatever, and they were just killing me horsepower wise. So Kyle came out. He's like, "Hey, we're gonna build you a motor. We're gonna have Burnell Mullet, which I don't know if you guys remember Burnell Mullet from back in the day, but Burnell Mullet was a big name back in the day. It used to build motors, worked for Chris, helped Chris Bergetzi and Marvin Fry and several. I mean, he used to build motors, for lots of people. So anyways, built me a motor, and then we go out there, and boy, oh boy, then we started winning races, So my Bomber year, I ended up winning, I think 20 features that year after we put a motor in the car. So definitely Kyle was Kyle, and then behind the scenes, I think my Uncle Lou and Aunt Jody, they had helped Kyle with a little financial money on this motor, and so we actually had some equipment then and winning races, right? Well then Kyle wanted to take the next step, and Burnell, he kind of helped us out with this car and in the motor to go into the modifieds the next year. So, Kyle and Lou, they all helped, and then Burnell and the old man Chris Bargetzi, they kind of helped us get into the modified program. Then I raced the modifieds for 2 years, I believe, and then that's when the whole Brad Steinkinney and Kid Katie came in. They called me up and asked me if I wanted to come drive for them, and I'm like, hell yeah, I'm just a young kid, don't know nothing, but they obviously had watched me race, because I raced against them. Brad raced a little bit, and then they had Brad Lodicke actually raced for them, and obviously they watched me and had their eye on me, and thought enough about me and my driving that they wanted me to come drive for them. So then me and Brad Steinkinney, then we became a team, and I mean, him is like, say, the crew chief, so then me and him, and we just had that bond together, I mean, he read me like a book, I read him like a book, and he would, I guess you could say, scold me when I was bad, and he patted me on the back when I was good. So it was all good, you know. So you know, there's another one that just a different stage in my career. And then, you know, then when I actually, at that point in time, when I quit driving for them in 2009, I actually went for a short period of time and I drove for Kim Carroll and Dave Waters, which Kim Carroll is Josh Carroll's mother. So I actually drove for her. She had a modified, and I actually drove for her for, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 nights. I don't remember how many nights it was there. Just there at the end of 2009, sorry. Handful of races with her at the end of 2009, just while I wasn't racing. And then me and her had kind of talked about maybe doing something, but nothing was really set in, you know, nothing was set in stone. We really didn't get into a whole lot. She just kind of wanted me to drive for her, you know, but there was no plans, no nothing. And at that point in time, you know, I didn't really know. I knew what she had equipment wise, you know, the guys that drove for her, but you know, I don't know. I just kind of say I was probably young and dumb yet back at that time, you know, and I had won a lot of races, you know, but I was still just mentally, I was young and dumb. Okay. Let's just leave it at that, I guess. But then I had another guy call me up, which was Craig Maskell. He called me up, and at that point in time, the previous year, he had a couple modifieds, and Randy Cordy drove modified for him, you know, a dozen times or so that year, and they was extremely fast and had extremely good equipment, right? Brand new cars, brand new motors, and Craig called me up and he said, "Hey, I want you to come drive for me. Randy's not going to drive no more. You're going to get everything he had. I want you to come drive for me, and we're going to go win some races." And I kind of knew Craig from driving his sportsman car previously. And when I drove his sportsman car, it was top of the line, right? I ran that car, I don't remember how many times, 18, 19 times, and I won 17 or 18 features. I think I only lost maybe one feature or two features or something. The only time that I didn't win in that race car. So I knew what kind of equipment he had, knew the people that he had helping him, knew what was going on. So when he called me and told me he wanted me to drive, I had a decision to make. That was go drive for him or go drive for Kim. And I chose to drive for Craig. So I drove for Craig 2010, 11, 12, 13. And what did we? 2 or 3 national championships. And that's when I obviously got teamed up with Craig, but that's when Tony Frazier, which, you know, a lot of people know the name Tony Frazier. He used to race himself. That's when I got hooked up with him and Bob England and Bob's Boys, which Bob's Boys was young back then. And that's when people like Brandon Brockhahn came involved. And then, you know, obviously my kids all kind of started getting involved at that point in time too. But so, you know, that was another stepping stone in my career of different people that I worked with. And, you know, so then me and Tony and Bob, we kind of became that one-man band together then. I mean, they learned me, I learned them. And with them two's experience in racing, along with, you know, Craig, you know, but Tony and Bob was more so the, I would say the crew chiefs on all that. I mean, then as you all know, we all went on a tear amongst ourselves, and won, like I said, 2 or 3 national championships together, and I mean 20s and 30s features per year together. And so then along came I quit driving for Craig in 2013, and Bob England himself had a car, and we kind of put that car together. So we're kind of just going through all the years here, because it kind of, every different aspect of my career has all got different people involved and this and that, so we're just kind of going through it all. But so I drove, we finished that car up that Bob had, and we brought it out, and we kind of had some problems with it, some gremlins, but we did get to run it a couple nights, and I actually won a big race at Highland with it. So that was cool to get a win for them guys with that. And then that year ended, and had a guy by the name of Al Crakey come up to me and Bob, and he told me and Bob, he said, when we were trying to run Bob's car, I think he told me and Bob, he says, if you guys will stay together and work together, I'm interested in trying to help you guys get a program going for yourself. And me and Bob, good buddies, we said, we ain't going nowhere. If you're willing to help us, we're willing to give it a go. And so that's kind of where 2014 came involved. I, with Al's help, I started my own program, and, that's where Tony and Bob and Tony's boy TJ and Bob's boys, Kurt and Drew, and then, my boys and Brandon, it just, 2014, we put a dream team together, and that's when we got teamed up with Donnie Jumper, and we just set sail from there. And it just win and championship, and then over the years, we just, still today, we're all still together, which it's still, it's me and Bob. Tony, Tony's still around, but he don't help so much. He still does come and help some. He just, he had some health issues, and so he's just not able to go and help as much as what he used to be able to. But Bob still, everybody still sees Bob with me, which, Bob's getting older and retired now. And so I still just got the boys with me, and, we just all love it and still have fun. So it's just, and you talked about early, right off the bat, if anybody still, if anybody pushes me to race, and, I just say the kids, these kids have, they keep me young, and they keep me young. I keep them young, and we just all push each other, and we just all love it. We all love winning, who don't love winning? But we just all, we all love being together. We're a very, very, very tight-knit group, tight family, tight friends. We're very, very all tight together.
Well, I think we're going to start to kind of wrap things up. Maybe we'll all go for one more question. One thing I wanted to ask you, Mike, you had kind of touched on it a little bit about fitness. Did you play any sports growing up? Were you competitive as a kid?
Yeah, as a young kid, I did it all, up through high school. I always loved football, and I liked playing football, but my ankles did not allow me to keep doing it as things got tougher and tougher and tougher. I had what you call water ankle, and the more I run, the more I abuse my ankles would just swell up and swell up and swell up to where I just couldn't even function. So I didn't really get to keep going in high school at all. I mean, I tried, but I just had to quit and give it up. So no, and then kids came along, and I had kids at a young age, so I had to grow up real quick. So all that kind of fun shit kind of went to the wayside, and I had to grow up and go to work and be a dad. So yeah, so no, I didn't really get to do a whole lot of sports.
Yep. What about, I got to ride in the 2-seater, and one thing that I'm a pretty fairly fit guy, but man, riding just 5 or 6 laps in that 2-seater modified, I mean, just took something out of me. So tell me what kind of role does like fitness, diet, things like that maybe play in your week to week, when you're racing out there?
Yeah, I've never really done a whole lot, to be honest with you. I've always been, I feel like I've always been fairly fit enough and in shape enough to be able to handle everything, but and I always have been able to. But I will say now that I'm getting older, I mean, I'll be 50 this year, so I can't say I'm getting older. I don't feel like, mind wise, I don't feel like it. I still feel like I'm 20 years old, mind wise and doing stuff wise, but my body tells me different later. But yes, nowadays I feel like I do need to probably start doing a little more of something, watching a little more of something. I mean, especially with these late models, I mean, that late models are demanding. I mean, it's, you are, you say up on the wheel, you're 25 laps, 50 laps, 40 laps, whatever these features are, you're up on the wheel for every single lap of them. I mean, it's crazy how demanding these cars are nowadays. So yeah, I actually, now that you say that, I actually talked about it, over the last week or so, that I need to start doing a little something here, just coming up on the race season, just to, if nothing, just getting my lungs ready for it again. I mean, you see these guys down in Florida, I mean, they've been racing for a little while, but the 40 and 50 lap races, I've seen a few of them get out, and I mean, them guys are huffing and puffing, and even JD, he said he got out the one night and said, goddamn, chasing these kids around, he needs to start doing something because he's a little wore out. So yeah, I mean, it does. And like you said, talked about that 2-seater, yeah, that in itself is a blast. I love that. I mean, I love giving people rides and looking at their faces and watching them. That's, I don't know. I love that. I had so much fun doing that. It's crazy.
It gets people hooked on the sport. I mean,
yes.
I think for people I could speak from personal experience. I mean, you kind of watch these cars go around the track and you think, oh, I kind of know what that might be like. Trust me, you have no idea. No idea. It gave me a whole new respect for what the drivers go through. I rode 5 or 6 laps. I was beat for the rest of the weekend. 5 or 6 laps is nothing. I mean, that's like, that's practice. That's hot laps, I mean, so it's, we were also going at, and what Sean Horseman was driving, he told me we were going maybe 60 to 70%. So, I mean, we weren't even going full out. I mean, so you see this smooth track, you think it's a nice smooth track. It's a smooth ride. It is not.
Yeah. I mean, being as good as friends with Sean as I am, I mean, he's let me run that thing a lot, and I gave my wife a ride, which she said never again. But But I did that at Granite City, you know. So we were going a little faster at Granite City. But yeah, I mean, watching her over there, I mean, and then when we got done, the look on her face and everything when we got done, you know, I mean, it's just things you will never forget. You know, I got to give my daughter Mandy a ride. I got to give Allie Sugg a ride, and just watching them two, you know, the fun and enjoyment that they got out of going for that ride, and you know, me being the driver, it's just things you'll never forget. And you know, I don't think I've ever gotten my boys in with me. I've given several other people rides. One of my other favorites was the good buddy Jeff Kinney. Jeff Keeney, I get to give him a ride. He was at Highland with us one night. I got to give him a ride. He's the Chuck Wagon guy, if nobody knows, the Chuck Wagon food service guy. But I got to give him a ride, and we're at Highland, and we're up, you know, I was doing it on purpose, getting all the way up by the wall for him. And I mean, I'm literally watching him in the passenger seat on the steering wheel. I mean, I mean, it was the funniest thing I've ever done in my life. Watch him with that steering wheel. Try to stay away from the wall, okay? And as we're going through turn 1 and 2, I'm coming off the corner and I'm watching him stall on that steering wheel. And I reached over at the same time and I threw his hands off the wheel and I grabbed that steering wheel and I just spun it with my hand. And he grabbed a hold of that wheel and he looked over at me like I was nuts, you know, reaching over there with the one hand, just spinning that steering wheel. And we got done, and just the joy that I got out of doing that, you know, for one of my best friends, and that watching the enjoyment on his face is just, I mean, priceless. I mean, I'll never forget them moments, you know, because it was truly fun just seeing their eyes, watching the enjoyment they got out of that, you know, just getting to experience what we experience in the cars. I mean, it was
that Jeff has never screamed any louder than that moment when he was in the car.
Tyler, you know him, and man, it was the funnest thing.
Can only imagine.
Yeah, it was the funnest thing. I mean, I'll just give you a quick story here. Just so this last weekend, it was his birthday last Tuesday, and me and Jeff and Carrie, his wife Carrie, and my wife, we have become extremely close over the years since we met them. And they go down to Florida every winter, and they stay down in Florida for a few months. And it was his birthday last Tuesday, so me and his wife Carrie, we planned for us to come down and surprise him, and we pulled it off. We kept it a complete secret from him, and he'd been razzing me about not coming down to Florida to visit him, you know, and you know, I just had to keep taking it, and but we pulled it off. She told him that they had to go pick up one of her friends from the airport, Sue, and so when me and Lori came walking out of the airport and they came pulling up, the look on his face when we came walking out behind this little minivan, when he came to pick Sue up, it was priceless. He looked, I came popping out behind this minivan, and he just looked, the look on his face, he was completely dumbfounded that we pulled this off, and we kept this a secret from him for, you know, a month, that we was coming down there to visit him, to, you know, to spend the last couple days at East Bay, to watch the last couple nights of the Winter Nationals, you know, at East Bay, and to spend the weekend, you know, his birthday weekend with him. It was pretty cool. Yes, it was pretty cool.
Well, it sounds like you've got a great team around you. I mean, we got to hear about all the people who have kind of helped you as you came up through the ranks. What's your plans? You know, we're going to have to kind of get to the end here. I'm going to have to cut cut the other questions a little short, I think. But
hey, if you want to have me on again, I'll talk. I can talk
we
for
can.
hours. So
We're just
get with me.
We're out playing the Apple Podcast algorithm here by going an hour and 45 minutes. I mean, we'd sit here and bullshit, for 2 more hours talking about everything on our list. But let's have you finish up 2024. What's it going to look like? Your 2023, like you said, was busy. I mean, you had 60 starts in 2023, 34 in a late model, 26 in a modified. Do you kind of see that same balance in 2024, or what do you see right now?
Yeah, with the mod, I don't really have a set schedule with the mod or what we're going to do. Definitely all the bigger money shows with the mod. I mean, I did register for that 100,000. I'm definitely registered for the 20,000 at Fairbury. I'm definitely plan on doing them. That 100,000 one, like I said, I'm registered and I plan on doing that one. I don't know if it will be in my car or another guy's car. Work allowing, I do have a job that does get in the way at times of racing, but I mean my bosses are really, really good with all that. But at the end of the day, I do have a job, and like that 100,000 deal, that's that's damn near a week-long deal. So we'll just see how things play out for that, because there is also a big late model race that is just right down the road from us at the same time when that's going on. So we just got to kind of play all them things out yet and figure out that part of it. Because that late model races, I'd really like to win that too. It's just right down the road at Granite City.
Tri-City, right? Yeah, the one at Tri-City.
So, I mean, there's some things there that I'm just not sure about yet, but I'll have the mod out for some, for all the bigger shows, obviously. And then if we just want to go, like I said, run locally a night with it, I mean, I'm up for that. Maybe a little something. I ain't got to say anything, but if the time comes and it all happens, maybe somebody else behind the wheel of it. We'll just see how that all plays out. But as far as the late model, the 33 going to be pretty much the same. We haven't really set a schedule in stone. We've kind of got a schedule made up, just to basically all of the bigger money shows that are in the Midwest here. I mean, there's tons of them. I mean, there's a handful every single month, more than that even, that we can go race right here in the Midwest for 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, every weekend, every other weekend, whatever. So we haven't really nailed down the schedule for the 33 yet, but definitely somewhat something of the same thing as last year. And then, like I talked about before, when I'm not in the 33 car at the bigger money shows, that's when we will definitely be getting the 24H late model out and running it more on a local, just at Highland and Brownstown and Peevely, that type of stuff, just to keep me fresh, just to maybe go do some testing, just trying different things. So that's when we'll get that car out. But yeah, it's like I said earlier, I talk about trying to slow down some, but I feel like I'm probably going to race more. Than what I had in the mod for the last several years. Because I mean, they're held in the mod the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. We were down in the 40 night range, maybe low 50 to upper 40s, low 40s. So yeah, like you said, I mean, we had 60 something last year. So yeah, I definitely feel probably the same, if not maybe a little bit more.
Gotcha. Well, Tyler, Jacob, I'll let you guys go next. Do you guys have anything as we're wrapping up here?
No, man, that was awesome. Good chatting with you.
Yeah,
We'll do part 2.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, if you don't want to talk to me again, you don't want to. You want to get other people, but hell, if you want to talk more and talk about racing, I can talk about racing for hours.
Well, we had somebody say the new announcer, Mike Harrison. So maybe, one idea I had is maybe we do some watch parties with some of these big races, and we'll bring you guys on, and we just sit here and hang out, and we kind of watch the race in the background and comment as the wrecks are going on and different things are happening. So maybe we'll hold you to that and invite you to the first watch party we had. But Mike, any final shout outs, maybe people you want to thank out there or your sponsors, anything like that?
Yeah, I just obviously I got to thank Josh. I mean, we've been friends for a long time. I just thank him and his whole family, Nikki and Blake, his wife and Blake, and then his mom and his mom, Kim, and Dave. We've all, like I said, I drove for her years ago. We've been friends for a very long time, and just, just thank them all for the last few years coming aboard and helping out and being with us. And it's been fun with them. I got to win Josh a national championship, so that was cool with him. And then, Steve Lampley and his wife and his girls, for giving me the opportunity that they have, along with, Randy, for giving me the opportunity to, and his wife and all the people that are involved with that team also, I mean, there's a lot of people there that behind the scenes stuff. Tomcat Carson, he's a big part of that whole deal out there behind the scenes. And, there's several people out there that help Randy, that's big help that, don't ever get no credit. Tyler Whitaker, he does a lot of stuff out there, and Eric Dial and his boy, that's big parts of the 33 group there. So, just huge thanks to all of them guys and just everybody that's helped me along the way. I mean, I can't thank each and every one of them enough that's helped me get to where I'm at. And, obviously my kids have always been there with me. Like I said, we're very, very tight. You usually don't see me without my kids without me wherever we go, because we just always do stuff together. And my wife, for being here, I mean, being gone all the time in the shop.
She's a real champion, right?
Yeah, just listening to me bitch. Listen, I mean, if there's anybody that's hard on themselves, it's me. If I cause myself not to win, I mean, I come home, I don't sleep at night. I mean, I don't sleep, and I bitch at myself as I'm sleeping. And sometimes I probably bitch at her when I shouldn't, just because I didn't win the race or I lost or whatever, so all the family, I mean, there's a lot that goes into all this racing. So I got to thank everybody that's been there through thick and thin, through all of my career, and all of my family and kids, and all the sponsors that's helped me, partners that's helped me throughout the way and continue to help me. I mean, you can't do it without each and every one of them. Just like Tyler knows, all that they do for me, and that that it just, not only even that, it's the friendships that come with all of that. I mean, just like the friend, I mean, me and Tyler, I mean, are we best of friends and hang out every week? No, but we're friends on a friend side of it, and and the business side of it with Aggressive. And Tyler knows the friendship that me and Brian have built throughout the years that has gone way more than just a partnership or just Brian Aggressive Letter's my race car. We go snowmobiling together. We go, we all get together as a big group and go ride go-karts together and try to hurt each other. I mean, it's just all that stuff and all them partnerships and sponsors, and a lot of them just all go way deeper than what people really ever even think they go. So I gotta just thank everybody. I mean, it's been a fun ride, and hopefully we can keep this ride going for several years yet and just keep winning races.
Yep. What do you think about the things and kind of tweaks we've made at Highland Speedway?
I mean, Kurt, you know me. I've talked to you and Sean lots and lots and lots about all this, and AAA. I mean, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I mean, I love to see our local racetrack getting bigger and better. I've been going to Fairbury for a long, long time, and I've constantly always told you guys, and I took Sean to Fairbury for the first time to let him experience and see it, class act place up there, with Matt Curl and the whole staff. So, you guys have always asked me what this and what that, and I always told you, smiling faces, great attitudes, just the way you got to treat people good. I mean, because that's what, I always said Fairbury did so well is, I mean, they didn't know us, and they treated us like we were family, and they didn't even know us, and yes, just great. It's awesome. I mean, with what you guys are doing there, and then Josh over at Brownstown, I mean, and then we got Peevely on the other side of the river and Granite City close. I mean, we've got
We're
the best. We've just got the best around here, and I so love what you guys are doing, and Josh is doing over there at Brownstown. I mean, it's great. I just want it to keep going, and that's that's why people sometimes people get mad at me when I do come and race locally and bitch at me and be about cherry picker this and cherry picker that, and you go where there ain't no competition. Well, you know what? If it makes the local racetracks better and the local fans like seeing me show up, I come every time I can because I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Hell, even if I don't go racing, Highlands racing, I mean, you can ask my wife. I'll end up at the racetrack because I love going. I'm a fan. I'm a fan through and through just as much as I am a racer. I mean, I love watching races. I mean, I still got two screens on my TV right now watching sprint cars. And I ain't a sprint car guy, but
well, I think you were at Highland Speedway twice this year, not racing. I think watching the races.
Yeah. I mean, just to go and enjoy myself and watch, and then I can come back and give you guys feedback on what I've seen and what I just different ideas and this and that. I mean, me and you talked several times, Kurt. Just about different stuff. I mean, it's just I love it, and when I do stop racing, I'll probably be at a racetrack doing something. I don't know what.
President?
Probably something.
Track prep? You gonna be on the tractor or the grader? Come on.
Hey,
track president?
Hey, you know what? We can get rumors started. You know who's running Highland Speedway this year?
Jake.
Hey, I'm still a part-time driver. I guess.
Here we go. Okay, Cole Trickle.
Well, Mike, we really appreciate your support with everything we're doing. We're blessed to have a driver like you here in Highland that's, winning races all the time. And when people, every time they say your name, it's Mike Harrison from Highland, Illinois. And it's just like, man, when I'm watching a big race, I just ring that bell every time, like Highland. It's like, it's so great to just hear that all the time. So, thanks for all your support. Thanks for coming on here. I'd also like to thank my co-hosts. So on the Highland Dirt podcast today. So Tyler Kathmann. Tyler, go ahead and plug your axe throwing business here in town.
Yeah, so we're the Game Yard. We're a axe throwing, golf simulator, racing simulator facility, but we specialize in group events, parties, birthday parties, anniversary parties, holiday parties, corporate events, team building, stuff like that. So come on out for a day night, check it out, and then tell your company to come on back and have a party with us.
That's right. It's a fun place to go. Again, first class. Race simulator, golf simulator. Digital axe throwing. It's top of the line equipment all the way around. So you can go there. Actually, plug the website? Is it the-gameyard.com?
Yes, sir. That's it. Yep.
And
we're
you
in
can
North
go
Town.
there and you can book a lane. You can do all that there on their website.
Yep.
And then our local racing dirt late model expert, Jacob Blumenstein. Jacob, where can we find you most days?
Jansen Chevrolet, located in Germantown, Illinois. I'm a proud sponsor of this podcast. They have 3 lots, and I can sell you anything off those 3 lots, the Chrysler dealership or the Ford dealership. And, we're a local dealer where, you feel like you got a good deal, but you come, get treated like a person, and, hopefully you come back.
Yep, that's great. And let me remind you, the Highland Dirt podcast is brought to you today by our friends at Jansen Auto Group. Hundreds of vehicles are available right now at gojansen.com with Jansen Ford a Breeze, Jansen Chrysler Jeep Ram in Carmi, and Jansen Chevrolet in Germantown. Go see Jacob there. They've got the vehicle you're looking for. You can search their entire inventory at gojansen.com. That's gojansen.com. And like you said, Jansen Auto Group is proud to support local dirt track racing and world famous Highland Speedway. Now, let's say, guys, if you have a business, maybe you want to be featured on the Highland Dirt podcast, maybe you like to have a sign or sponsor a race at world famous Highland Speedway. Last year in 2023, Mike, we reached 5 million people through social media. You believe that? And it's only growing from there. So send us an email at highlanddirtpodcast@gmail.com, and we'll send you over all of the details. So we really appreciate everybody joining. Make sure you follow the Highland Speedway and Highland Dirt podcast on all the socials, on Facebook, YouTube, X, TikTok, and don't forget, opening night 2024 at Saturday, March. Only 32 days away, folks. You can also download this episode where you find all your favorite podcasts, Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. Make sure you leave us a 5-star review. And I'm Kurt Vonder, your host of the Highland Dirt podcast. Remember, folks, whether it's Peevely, Brownstown, Tri-City, Belle Claire, or Highland, get out there and support your local dirt track, would you? We'll see you guys next week.
See you guys.
See y'all.